are there any other foods that we should probably be reducing to kind of, ease that period pain a little bit? And I feel like I know you're going to say coffee here, so get ready, people. Hey guys, welcome to the Happy Way podcast, your go-to place for all things fun, happiness, well-being, growth, trust, and diversity. I am your host, Melissa Fideli, and I am here to inspire and connect everyone who chooses health and happiness so you can be your healthiest self and live life the happy way. Hello, beautiful people. Today we have Nikki Gonda on the show, who is the founder of Moonbox, an incredible business that is designed to change the way you cycle. Nikki has a range of products, moonboxes, and educational resources that are designed to rebalance hormones and help you on the journey of fixing your period problems. Not only does Nikki provide so many great tools and resources to educate you on your natural cycle and hormones, but she also brings great awareness to issues like PMS, cramps, endometriosis, skin health, and hormone health to empower you to make positive long-term changes. Today we have Nikki on the show to share her wisdom on how we can reduce period cramps, sore boobs, and support that glowing skin. So let's get into things. Welcome, Nikki.
Thank you so much, Melissa. I love the intro.
Oh, of course. Well, it's all true. So I know you have had a bit of a rough journey with your cycle through the year. So I thought let's kick off today's podcast with hearing a bit about your journey, what it was like for you, and then, get into, what you do now. So take it away.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Look, I feel like when I reflect on my journey, it is probably not too dissimilar from many, many women out there when talking about our menstrual cycle. Like, I was your typical teenager. When my period arrived, from day dot, I feel like I had decided that I hated my period and everything that came with it. I was definitely someone to experience all of the symptoms. I feel like you name it, I got to have that every single month, like the period pain, the mood swings. I'll never forget, I feel like every month would arrive and I was depressed, and then I'd forget every single reason why I was depressed, and then my period would arrive and I'd be like, oh, yep, that's why. Yeah, I feel like I got the cyclical acne. It was very much like clockwork. And for me, it was just one of those things that you just accept as normal. And like most teenage girls, I feel like I went to the doctor and the main solution given to me was hormonal birth control. So no questions asked. I went on it like a rite of passage. Yep. And, for a good 6 years, those symptoms, somewhat relieved. I do remember my heavy periods reduced somewhat, my skin cleared. But I guess little did I know that for me, in my experience, I was definitely swapping out some symptoms for other ones. And at the time, I definitely experienced the chronic UTIs, chronic thrush. I had, anxiety attacks. And it wasn't really until I went off the pill was I able to kind of connect the dots, which I feel like with women in my community, it's a very similar experience. You go off it and you go, what the fuck just happened?
It literally, yes, no, that's,
and it was kind of then that I remember going to my doctor after coming off birth control and being like, okay, what's the solution? My period problems are back. What do I do? And I was presented with another form of birth control.
Yeah.
And it was then that I kind of remember thinking, hell no, there has to be another way. And that's pretty much what began my journey, my hormonal healing journey, and going down the more natural route, because, intuitively I felt that, women don't have to be, aren't destined to be in, pain and suffering every month. And that's what led me to studying nutritional health science, to becoming pretty much obsessed with all things hormones and cycle related. And from, over a period of time, when you're on that journey, you try all these different things and things work, other things don't. But I made changes in my lifestyle, in my diet, and I was able to get to a place where, my period would arrive and I didn't experience pain, and my period would arrive and the mood swings weren't there, or the uncomfortable bloating or the headaches. And I remember thinking what the hell, why, why don't more women know about this?
Exactly.
Why weren't we educated from the beginning? So long story kind of cut short, that's what did inspire me to start my business Moonbox.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this information, this education, this support, which everyone shouldn't have to go and get a degree to know about, is what I, felt that really needed to be out there.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like you said, so many women, especially young women, we do think that is so normal because that is kind of what we're told. I mean, I had a similar situation to you where when I was younger, my period was horrible and I was just told to go on the pill, and that was the only solution really. And then even when I started to educate myself and I went to my doctor and I said, I want to get off the pill, she was like, why would you want to do that? Like, you don't need to get off the pill until you have a baby. And, you kind of question everything again, and no one kind of shows you this other side really. And I think that's what you do so well with Moonbox is, you really have created not just a product, but a platform and an educational resource to share with women that there is another way, like there really is, and you can use, natural resources to actually support your body. So was that kind of your why behind the business? Is that what really inspired you to do it?
Completely. Yeah. When I think about my why, it very much is around that notion of, like, I personally feel that if women transform their period, their life transforms as well. And then in turn, this is how I think it. I'm like, transform your period, transform your life, and you can transform the world. And it can sound, people go, what does our period have to do with our life and the world? But at the end of the day, like, the missing link, I really believe, is our hormonal health. Like, the missing link to living our most fulfilled, feel-good, vibrant, vital life comes down to our hormonal health, because our hormones, they're not just impacting, our period and fertility, but how we feel every single day of the month, from our energy to our mood, to our libido, to our ability to communicate, everything.
Absolutely.
So, when our hormones are out of whack, not only are our periods going to be out of whack, like, we're going to be feeling out of whack too. Yeah. But when our hormones are, balanced and thriving, we might not experience the period problems and our fertility will be enhanced, but we're going to be thriving throughout the month as well. Yeah. And for me, I look at it as like, you're then able to show up as your best self, for yourself, for your, potential partner, or as a mother, as a friend, at work, etc. And then for me, I just look at it just creates that ripple effect, transforming your life and then the world as well. So that's my why.
I love it. You're so passionate. I love it. So for those of the people who are listening who may not follow you already, I probably should have asked you this at the start, but can you explain a little bit about what your business is and what you have created?
Yeah, sure. I think you did a really beautiful job of giving an outline of it as well. But in short, Moonbox is a business on a mission to very much transform the way women experience their periods naturally. And how we do this is through offering online education. So I have ebooks, I'm about to launch a new masterclass, I have programs that I do, and then this is complemented by natural product support. So from teas to elixirs to, natural skincare products, food products, etc., all designed and created to optimize your cycle experience. So very much focused around and passionate about trying to make natural period support more mainstream, rather than, women feeling like their only options are hormonal birth control or, depending on painkillers every month, which I absolutely did. Like there's zero judgment there. I remember popping pills every single month. I was like, give them to me.
Every like 2 or 4 hours on the hour, I got to top up,
I remember it very clearly. And, there, like I said before, like there is that other way. And that's, very much what Moonbox is, creating that more natural alternative approach.
Yeah. So period pain, mood swings, acne, low libido, sore boobs, fatigue, the list really does go on. We have been made to believe that these symptoms are normal. What do you say about this? And in your opinion, how would you actually describe a normal period?
Very good question, because I feel like it's one of the biggest myths that I'm always trying to bust is that period pain, all of the symptoms you just listed are normal. And it's, it's not the reality. Like, yes, they are statistically common. We all know people who have experienced period pain or, other symptoms, your mom, your sister, your cousin. And so just because it's super common, we just accept it as normal, but it's not, biologically normal, right? Our bodies are not, built to put you in suffering every single month. And, unfortunately, there is this, really deeply ingrained societal belief that period symptoms are common, and we grow up accepting them as inevitable and a part of, being a female. And, we don't ask questions because of this, and there's danger that comes with that. I just think that when we accept these symptoms as normal, what happens is, one, we inherently, we believe we are, inherently and biologically flawed, right? And are in need of fixing. And then that leads to being medicated, and we just shut down our cycles altogether. Also, believing that period symptoms are normal, causes us to reject our bodies, reject our cycles. We feel disconnected from them because we're in this constant kind of, have this instilled belief that, our bodies are betraying us, which instead of our cycles being empowering, they're disempowering. The danger that comes, especially with believing that period symptoms are normal, is that when we ignore these symptoms, they manifest as deeper imbalances, over time, and they can become worse, and they can develop into, further conditions, etc. So when it comes to, answering your question, like, what is a normal period, or what are the characteristics? It's one where, I'll backtrack a little, because I don't necessarily like to call it a normal period, because I feel like my normal, Melissa, can be different from your normal. Absolutely. And we can both have healthy cycles, right? So I like to mainly talk about the characteristics around an ideal menstrual cycle. And I think it's so important to have an awareness of what is that ideal menstrual cycle, because then, every month when your period arrives, it's very much a reflection of your current state of health, and you can get a really good gauge on where your health is at that point in time, because your symptoms, they're just your body's language communicating with you an underlying imbalance, right? And that something needs to be addressed. So an ideal menstrual cycle, it arrives every 21 to 35 days. I would say 24 to 35 days is ideal. And when it's consistent in length each month, that's ideal too, because consistent, cycles mean consistent ovulation, and we need to ovulate in order to have a consistent period. Ideal period, it lasts from 3 to 7 days. It is, your, period blood color also says a lot about your health as well. So you really want to have that kind of bright red, cranberry or ruby or rose kind of colored period blood. Anything very dark or purpley and clotty or blueberry, that's going to indicate an underlying imbalance. Then, anything really light and watery and pink is going to indicate, an imbalance as well. And also every cycle, ideal menstrual blood loss is around 35 to 60 mils. And when you say that to someone, everyone's like, what does that even look like? It's usually on average 7 to 12, fully soaked tampons or pads.
Okay.
So I would say they're the characteristics of an ideal kind of period, and anything out of it, if you're experiencing PMS, cramps, bloating, the acne, if your cycles are, 40 days in length or, 20 days in length. These are all, just your body saying hey, Nikki, or hey, Melissa, something's going on, pay attention to me. And we're able to, support our body to rebalance a healthier period to take place.
Yeah, I had someone say to me, I thought it was great, your period is your monthly report card for your body. And it really is.
I love that.
Yeah, because it really is a great way to say, okay, what's going on a deeper level? What's going on a biological level? Is something not right? And you're, like you said, all of those things, the color of your period, the length of your period, symptoms you get before and after your period, they are all telling you something. They're all telling you, hey, maybe you need to look deeper, or I need some more help here. So yeah, like you said right before, your period really should empower you rather than be something that you're so like, ugh, gross, I hate it. It's, yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're not all going to love it, but it shouldn't be something where like,
it's not.
Oh.
It doesn't have to be about loving your cycle. It's just more about learning more about it. And because when you have a deeper understanding of it, that is what actually leads to, more, self-acceptance when you do experience symptoms, or you then know how to support yourself, etc. But yeah, I too love the monthly report card. Lara Bryden, actually, author of Period Repair Manual, she calls it the monthly report card, and I've always thought it's brilliant. Yeah, it's a great one because when you think about it, so if your period arrives and you have the period symptoms, what I always say is like, okay, that's pretty much that is a report of your past, say, up to 3 months of how you've been supporting your body and your hormones. So if, say, you're on your period now and you're experiencing really bad period pain and PMS, can you reflect on the previous 3 months on, your diet? Have you been eating more sugar, or, eating a lot more takeaway, not cooking at home, etc. Your lifestyle, reflect on your lifestyle. Like, have you been out partying and drinking more alcohol, or maybe there was some kind of stress that was occurring? Like, that's where looking at your period as a monthly report card is so helpful, because it's just an indication to reflect on the past few months and then make adjustments for the month ahead in order to, support your body back to balance.
That's a really great way of looking at it from a holistic point of view. But what do you say to the women who may experience all of these symptoms and then they've been told, okay, just take the pill, it'll fix it?
Yeah, I would first say the pill is not a true fix. How it works is that it only suppresses your symptoms, right? So it shuts down communication between your brain and your ovaries. It interferes with ovulation, and your natural hormone production is flatlined, meaning when you're on the pill, you're not even having a real period in the first place, right? Which I know when I was on the pill, I had no idea. I just thought, wow, my cycle, my periods are super regulated, my heavy bleeding's gone, and I thought everything was dandy. But really, my body wasn't producing natural hormones. So, what happens then is that the entire time that you're on the pill, your symptoms, they're still there bubbling beneath the surface, right? And when you decide to go off the pill, whether, like me, it was 6 years later, or whether it might be 6 months later, or, however many years later, it's like you're ripping that Band-Aid off. And those symptoms, because the underlying issue is never addressed, they're still there, they return, and unfortunately, oftentimes worse than before, because of the impact the pill has on the body, in that it's not working for your hormones, right? So that's where I always say, like, if the pill is, prescribed, instead of reaching for a pharmaceutical as like the first line of defense, instead, can we put on our own detective hats and really, learn to understand the language of our body, jump in the driver's seat to your own health, understand the language of your body and decode your own symptoms. Because when it comes to PMS, when it comes to cramps, they are driven by lifestyle factors. So what that means is, and it's really good news, is that we have so much more control over our periods than we've ever been taught to believe. So if someone is after true healing, a long-term approach, I'd say the pill isn't the option. But as always, you want to make, what's important is making an informed decision, understanding how the pill actually impacts the body, that it's not a real fix, etc. And if you still decide that's an option for you, that's absolutely fine. But just having the awareness that there is, a more holistic whole self approach is really the most important thing. just having the awareness that that is an option.
Yeah. So today I really want to focus on period pain because although it is not a normal symptom, it is probably one of the most common symptoms. So what actually causes period pain?
So I think what's important to say first is that, like, to distinguish, there is two different types of period pain. You have primary dysmenorrhea, which is more chemical, and then you have secondary dysmenorrhea, which is functional. So functional meaning like endometriosis, maybe ovarian cysts, fibroids, maybe it's caused by the IUD, etc. So if we're talking about like period pain, the primary version, that's the most common version, you're looking at it's chemical, so it's caused by what are known as prostaglandins, and they're like hormone-like compounds. And the best way to describe it is that when your uterine lining is breaking down during menstruation, your prostaglandins are released, right? And it's these prostaglandins that are involved in the constriction of your blood vessels and the contractions, and in turn the shedding of your uterine lining, which is, of course, your period. So the higher your production of prostaglandins, the more severe your cramps are going to be. And other kind of symptoms may be like vomiting or diarrhea or headaches that some people can experience along with period pain. And I can explain what prostaglandins are because I'm so passionate about or how they work, because having that understanding can be really key to being able to actually relieve period pain. And not to get too sciencey, but I'm sure, because I think you studied nutrition as well, Melissa. I'm sure you like the science side as well.
Yeah, I do. It's very interesting.
when it comes to the prostaglandins, like, all you need to think, we have three types of prostaglandins. You've got PG, well, we'll call it prostaglandin E1, prostaglandin E2, and we have prostaglandin E3, right? E2, prostaglandin E2, they are pro-inflammatory and they cause uterine contractions, right? E1 and E3 are anti-inflammatory and antispasmodic, which means they're awesome because they're natural pain relievers, and we want more of them, right? So the aim is to reduce inflammatory E2 and increase E1 and E3. I hope that's not too confusing, but it's how I like to think of it. And the best part is that we influence our body's production of these different types of prostaglandins, and we influence them through diet and lifestyle, right? So we can, support our body in reducing inflammation, or we can create a diet and lifestyle that is creating inflammation in the body and that increase of those inflammatory prostaglandins, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. You did a great job explaining that. So when it comes to food and nutrients, what should we be incorporating into our meal plans to reduce, those prostaglandin 2s and, reduce that inflammation in the body?
To reduce inflammation, to say focus on you want to focus on an anti-inflammatory diet, right? Because that's really going to promote the E1 and the E3 prostaglandins. And what's interesting is that the end products of E1 and E3 are omega-3 fatty acids. And just to keep it simple, like, as one tip there to help promote like the pain relieving prostaglandins, is to consume more omega-3 fatty acids in your diet. When, say, omega-6 fatty acids, they're causing the E2 inflammatory prostaglandins. So if we look for like our diet, I always, it kind of sucks. I think like humans evolved having that kind of 1-to-1 ratio of the omega-6 fatty acids with the omega-3, and that actually promotes balance between the prostaglandins, right? But then if you unfortunately look at the, average Western diet today, your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio is way off. It's like 15-to-1. I think it's something like that, which means that it's inflammatory, right? Pain producing. So focusing on foods high in omega-3 fatty acids is key. So we're talking like, if one eats fish, like oily, wild caught fish like salmon, sardines, even anchovies, mackerel, oysters, or more plant-based, we're looking at like nuts and seeds like chia and hemp and sesame seeds, and you've got olive oil, coconut oil, olives, all of those delicious healthy fats that help to really reduce inflammation in the body are amazing to incorporate on a daily basis.
Yeah. And what are those omega-6? Can you give some examples?
Yeah, so omega-6 would be pretty much when you just think anything fried, processed or like packaged foods full of omega-6s, unfortunately. And also huge ones, and I guess, fried and processed packaged foods are made with these oils, but it's vegetable oils, vegetable oil, sunflower oil, canola oil, cottonseed oil. These are inflammatory. And I always recommend, like, if you're going to take one step towards supporting, your hormones, go and, chuck out the canola oil, chuck out the sunflower oil. Always check the back of, packaged foods that you're buying in the supermarket. Even ones that say organic, the ingredients, unfortunately, sometimes also going to say like canola oil.
Yeah.
Try not to opt for them. Like, it's impossible to avoid. Like, you would understand, like, it's as someone who, is passionate about, what one is consuming, it's still impossible to always avoid these things, but to have the awareness and limit consumption can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what foods, I know you said omega-6, but are there any other foods that we should probably be reducing to kind of, ease that period pain a little bit? And I feel like I know you're going to say coffee here, so get ready, people.
That's an interesting one with coffee. So I'm definitely have been known to be a bit of an extremist in my time. Like, I used to be a total coffee addict, and then I just decided I'm quitting coffee. I'm never having it again.
Oh, wow. Like, you're brave.
And I went off it because, I went off it and I was like, oh, wow, like, this really does make a difference for my cycle and, my gut. Coffee used to upset my gut personally. It definitely caused me to have it exacerbated anxiety, etc. And do you know what's so funny is that I actually reintroduced coffee recently, but I'm very conscious about the times in my cycle in which I consume it. So I'm not for cutting out like entire food groups. I'm not for labeling something like I used to when I was younger, like the devil that coffee was to me then. Yeah. But, with coffee at the end of the day, like, it does, it works to constrict your uterine, your blood vessels. It can worsen cramps. It can exacerbate PMS. That's why I'll usually say, hey, how about avoiding, or if you're a bit of a coffee addict, like, at least limiting your coffee consumption in the week prior to and throughout your period, right? And if you're someone who depends on coffee for energy, I would also put a little question mark next to that and look towards, like, how can we promote and cultivate energy from within instead, because that's kind of indicating that something's off as well. When it comes to foods, I would also say, like, unfortunately, sugar. Like, sugar causes inflammation in the body. It messes with our blood sugar, our blood sugar balance, which is really a root cause of PMS issues. So limiting your consumption of sugar. And also, I don't want to put this in the, absolute no basket, but dairy is really, for some people, stimulates inflammation and histamine within the body, which can cause period pain. I'm not going to say that's everyone, but it is something to be aware of. If you do experience period pain, I would say, if you've never tried experimenting with how dairy impacts you, I always say, give it a shot. But and same goes for other things like gluten, etc. But I don't want to put everyone in the same basket. It's really about understanding what are the foods that support hormonal health and how they impact you, because everyone's going to be different.
And that's the thing, we are all so individual, and that's the great thing about, like you said, period pain is something you do have a bit of influence over. You really do, with your lifestyle and what you're eating. And that's when we can take it into our own hands and experiment. This may work for this person, but I'm going to try these different things and maybe they will work for me. And, we have so many amazing foods and resources and all these great things that we can try with. There's so many things we can swap things out with. So, it is that trial and error. It's doing new things. I mean, I'm still trialing new things all the time. I've recently just stopped, like you said just before, I've stopped drinking coffee while I'm on my period and a few days before. And I found that for me, it has made such a difference, such a difference in that week of my period. I'm not as moody. I'm definitely not as anxious. And, I don't get cramps and stuff like I usually would. And, it's trial and error. You just keep going. You just keep trying and figuring out what works for your body, because this is forever thing. We need to learn what our body wants, and we need to learn to listen and understand. So, yeah.
Completely.
Crazy. Yeah. So what are some natural forms of pain release that we can use instead of popping anti-inflammatories?
So when it comes to, I think, it's interesting. I was thinking this yesterday because I'm constantly getting messages from people. They'll drop in my DMs and they're like, hey, Nikki, I'm on my period right now. I have the worst period pain. Like, what do I do to relieve it? And one thing I really want to emphasize is that when it comes to period pain, you want to adopt a preventative mindset, right? It's how you're supporting your body on the days outside of your period that are really going to make the biggest difference to how you experience your period and the severity of pain. In saying that, if you're on your period and the week before, etc., and you're experiencing pain, there are definitely more natural alternatives you can use for pain relief in that moment. And I have a few favorites. These favorites are, to be honest, what inspired me to create some of my Moonbox products, because I'm very passionate about providing those more natural alternatives. But I would say, if you follow anyone who is passionate about hormonal health or health in general, they'll always talk about, the mineral magnesium as being one of them. And I'll say magnesium is great throughout the entire month for preventing period pain, to be, increasing your dose of that. But if you're experiencing period pain, I would recommend magnesium as a natural form of pain relief, as it really relaxes those smooth uterine muscles. Yeah. And you can either use that in supplement form or, soaking in a hot tub with bath salts is one of my favorites. I do that, as a ritual in the week before my period. As much as I can, I'm, soaking in magnesium flakes. Yeah. My personal favorite way of using magnesium, especially when it comes to, if you are experiencing pain, is a magnesium oil. We have a product, Moon Boost. I love spraying it on my belly, rubbing it in, and it really provides some great, you can, be effective at helping. But I would say the most effective way is not when you're on your period. It's the days, every other day of the month. Then there's also ginger is actually amazing. And there's a really great double-blind study that shows comparing the efficacy between ginger and ibuprofen, and it shows that ginger is just as effective as ibuprofen in relieving primary dysmenorrhea, so the most common period pain, which is awesome. Then there's things like turmeric, which is also epic. With the ginger, I think it was from memory, if you have it's half a teaspoon 3 times a day, something like that. Don't quote me on that one.
Okay, I'm gonna have to find this study. That's amazing. I didn't know this.
Look it up. I'm sure I have it in my files. I can share it. Don't quote me on how much it was, but it is proven as effective. Wow. And then also there's amazing, powerful plants or herbs such as cramp bark or raspberry leaf. Cramp bark is really powerful in that it's antispasmodic. It's it's anti-inflammatory. It helps reduce those muscle spasms. Cramp bark, raspberry leaf. I have a tea with these in it, and I'm drinking them every day, the week before my period, to help prevent any cramps that might occur. And it works. I can't even tell you. It's amazing. I'm very passionate about cramp bark. I did a post on it yesterday, and I was like, this has got to be one of my favorite.
All right, I'm going to have to find this post afterwards and have a bit of a read, I reckon. Okay, so it does seem like, food and nutrients are so powerful when it comes to your cycle and reducing that, inflammation that's in your body, which then causes that period pain. So it is really about adopting that new lifestyle, adopting, those healthy habits and just trying new things really when it comes to food. So yes. So one thing I do want to also talk about is, what about exercise and movement? I know that when, you may be experiencing that pain, it is quite hard to move and probably all you want to do is lay in bed and watch Netflix or something. But does movement actually, support that reduction of the period pain? Or is that again something that is more so before and after and every other day of the month?
It's another great question, because I feel the answer is also it depends on you.
Yeah.
Like for me personally, and what I like to invite is that when you're on your period, this is a time to rest, right? Your uterus is literally shedding. It takes a lot of energy to do that. And how can we reserve that energy for our body to do, its job? So I always think like the more you rest on your period, the more energy and, vitality you're going to have throughout the rest of the month. But that's not to say like, exercise is proven that if you're exercising, minimum 4 times a week for 60 minutes, it's an effective way to prevent PMS and cramps. If you're on your period and you're experiencing excruciating pain, feel into your body.
Yeah.
Do you feel like moving it? That is what it comes down to at the end of the day. And I say that for every day of the month. Like I'm personally someone who, when I was younger, I used to be obsessed with, exercise and being fit. And, I love exercise now, but I have a very different relationship to it. But I was placing expectations on myself to show up at the gym, the same level every single day, high intensity. And then I would feel, defeated if, I didn't have the energy that day, and I'd still push my body through it. And this is what can actually set you up for period symptoms. So when it comes to exercise, yes, it can help, relieve or prevent PMS and cramps. And when you're on your period, feel into, what is going to feel right for you. But every day, like I always say, wake up, do a cycle check-in. I ask myself like, okay, what day of my cycle am I on today? How am I feeling energetically, physically, emotionally, and how can I meet myself there? How can I honor where I'm at? Because it's a game changer, and it's key, and it can truly just transform your period experience.
So how can a moon box reduce period cramps? Sorry, how can moon box reduce period pain? Bit of a tongue twister.
How can Moonbox reduce period pain? So when it comes to Moonbox, like I said before, I'm super passionate about a holistic approach, and I'll never say that there is one product that is going to fix your period pain, or any supplement or any other brand's product, or one food or one exercise you can do. It just doesn't work like that. I really believe, which is why I offer the education and the products, is because you need to address your diet and lifestyle. First and foremost, you need those strong foundations to build upon, and then the products, then the supplements, are like the cherry on the top, the decorations, right? They provide that extra support and nourishment, but you need the foundations there, and that's diet and lifestyle. So how Moonbox, provides support in this way is, like I said before, like through my programs. I have an amazing ebook called Healthy Hormones, Happy Periods, which literally is the first program I ever launched in an ebook to like a protocol in rebalancing hormones and helping relieve PMS and cramps. So that covers the foundations, which I'll say always start there. And then with products, with Moonbox, I think of it in like 3 steps a day and with product use. And just like, I always say, just like you have a skincare routine to keep your skin, clear and glowy and acne-free, etc., it's also important to have a cycle care routine to, consistently nourish and support your hormones to be able to in turn experience consistently healthier periods. We can't just expect to support our body and our hormones for like a few weeks or a couple of months and experience improvements and then just drop it all thinking it's going to stay that way. So with Moonbox products, like I have like a 3-step kind of regime, I call it. And it's like step 1, you get your daily dose of magnesium, you spray Moon Boost onto your belly. I do it every morning when I brush my teeth. So it becomes like a daily habit. I never skip. And that is like, that ticks the essential mineral box because, you need magnesium for healthy hormones, for estrogen metabolism, for reducing inflammation. It really ticks all the boxes. And then step 2 is what I like to do is sprinkle earth seeds over pretty much any meal, whether I pop it in my smoothies, over my eggs on toast, in a salad. And earth seeds is hemp seeds, it's chia seeds, it's sesame seeds. And these are, full of essential fatty acids, protein, fiber, all of these nutrients that our body actually needs to make and produce hormones. So like 2 tablespoons of that a day is ensuring that, you're topping up on those essential nutrients that you need. And then step 3, I'll usually say step aside coffee and, replace it, or at least have a Luna's latte. We have a range of lattes. They're adaptogenic mushroom blends that are absolutely delicious, but are designed to support you depending on your cycle needs, whether it's you experience, pain and you need help relieving the inflammation driving that pain, or if you are someone who experiences anxiety and mood swings or depression around their cycle, there's, other blends that have adaptogenic mushrooms to support your adrenal health and all of the systems within your body, which, create those solid foundations for healthy hormones. But yeah, they're the 3 steps a day: the spray moon boost, sprinkle earth seeds, and drink a Luna's latte.
It really is your complete package there. You've got all your education, you've got everything that you need, and amazing. It's such a good product. I love it. So good.
Thank you.
Amazing. So now that everyone has listened to this and they have a great understanding on how they can, naturally start to make those changes which can benefit their cycles, where can they come and find you? Because I'm sure they're going to want to learn so much more about your products and you and your business and everything. So what are your handles? What's your website? Give it to us.
Awesome. So you can find me on Instagram. It's just at mymoonbox. And then my website is mymoonbox.com.au. But they're my 2 main platforms that I show up on the most. Well, do you show up on your website? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much for everything today. It was such a good episode. I feel like I've even got so much out of it myself. Sometimes you need to hear these things and you need to talk about them, and there's such a good reminder of oh yes, I need to do this more. I haven't been keeping up with that, and so yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, because this can be a topic that a lot of women do experience it, and it can really impact your everyday life, in such a negative way. And it's so good to know that you can be so much more in control with this. There are things that you can do. So, and you explained it all so well. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. For the Happy Way community, for anyone who would like 15% off any Moonbox product for supporting your hormones and improving your periods naturally, the code is HappyWay15.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I'll put that in the show notes as well so everyone can remember that. Thank you. So that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you've taken even just one piece of wisdom from this episode that you can apply to your life to help you grow and be a happier and healthier version of you. Please like, subscribe, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and make sure to share us on your socials. Sending lots of love to you all. Bye.